Yanis. Yeah. Okay, I try to be brief, but please don't trust someone who says at the beginning. Anyway, I'm glad and honored to be here in this G20 Faith Summit, and I convey you the greetings of the community of Sant'Egidio from Rome through all over the world. The last tragedy of Paris, a symbolic city of coexistence, on the evening of Friday, November 13, deeply touches all of us. Let me express on behalf of the community of Sant'Egidio our prayers for the victims, said also by our community of Sant'Egidio in Paris, where they are every night. Sant'Egidio reiterates its commitment to peace and the construction of society of living together. This dramatic event challenges us deeply and shows us the urgent need for strong and decisive diplomatic channels that can effectively counteract any painful and irrational episode of this third war in pieces, as Pope Francis has frequently called it. Dear friends, with the drama of Paris, we have once more the proof of how essential interreligious dialogue is for peace and human development. Religion remains a vital force in the lives of the majority of the world's population. Religious ideas and beliefs play a decisive role in the lives of individuals, families, societies, and nations. Interreligious dialogue promotes increased trust, the overcoming of barriers, increased familiarity, greater appreciation for the other. Religions and interreligious dialogue should be included and integrated as full partners, along with governments, civil societies, the private sector, in the global partnership for sustainable development. Since 1968, now for about 50 years, the communities of Sant'Egidio of Europe, Asia, and especially Africa and Latin America have worked and do work to build peace and more human and sustainable societies through dialogue among faiths and cultures. We have fostered peace negotiation in several continents, but most of all, we have lived of daily solidarity with the poorest of the world, being together with them, constantly engaged in a number of struggles for the defense of life and human rights. Today we are aware of a particularly traumatic moment that our world is going through. The number of conflicts has increased and they spread the most diverse form of violence, often out of any possible control. Conflict, violence, and racism have returned to Europe. The struggle of the Middle East has failed, while persecuted refugees flee from northern Iraq. Syria is prey to a devastating and inhuman war. These sorrowful stories declare the re-legitimization of war as a tool, as well as a new mixture of religion and violence. And war is turning more and more inhuman. We see in the exhibition of acts of cruelty, which used to be covered up by those who committed them in the past, and now in this global era are used as a weapon to slaughter and to exhibit the horror, humiliated women and men driven out of their homes naked, killed by gunshot or worse. It is a true terrorism. The global world, as someone wrote, is a land of many fears. It was also noted that our generation, though gifted with the most advanced technology in history, is the one that experiences insecurity and fear the most. Religion in this global era is almost the only system of ideal motivations that have a transnational dimension. This is one reason why religious motivations and references are exploited to create consensus to organize violence. Indeed, today religions are called to face in a more mature and responsible way the problem of their relationship with violence. Yes, I would like to stress that religions hold today a crucial responsibility. In our world, more and more weakened and made foolish by consumerism, and inspiration is necessary to bring back hope and guide humankind toward the awareness of a common destiny. Religions remind us that men and women share a common fate. They can generate, promote, and animate enthusiasm for dialogue between men and women, believers and non-believers alike, of every country, age, and culture. Please, pass me the term enthusiasm. Enthusiasm for dialogue. The etymological Greek root of enthusiasm is entheos, which means to have God within. Religion has the strength to set God into the dialogue between people, thus enriching dialogue with spirituality and vision. Yes, in the current context, religions are called to a new responsibility. This is the case in several scenarios: Syria, the Middle East, Central Africa, Sudan, the Philippines, and also Ukraine. It was quoted before. There, religious and interreligious groups have raised their voice and rallied to stop the local violence. Religions are called to a commitment to courageous dialogue among themselves and with politics in the construction of peace. Interreligious dialogue, according to the experience of the community of Sant'Egidio in the spirit of Assisi, so-called, referring to the historical event of 1986, summoned by Saint John Paul II, this spirit of Assisi is not the spirit of a club of intellectuals, nor that of a living room of philosophers. It is the spirit of religious men and women, and religious does not necessarily mean only believers, as opposed to the atheists. The etymological, sorry, but I go back to etymological problem. Etymological root is the Latin word religo, which means bond. And every man is bonded to the others. So every man is religious. No man is an island. These religious men and women want to defend the lives of everyone, young and old, rich and poor, men and women, and dedicate their lives to building peace for entire peoples. This could be an alliance between those who Pope Paul VI called Friends of Peace in his first message for the World Day of Peace on 1st January 1968. It was the time of the Vietnam War. I firmly believe that the true starting point for any action carried out by religions are the first two Millennium Development Goals: eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. Each religion will then play its concrete role in making the entire world more human, livable for all, right and peaceful. This is the starting point to establishing so-called sustainable communities in every country of the planet. But this is only possible if religions are possessed with human and prophetic courage to build a new alliance with the most vulnerable of all societies, giving voice to the poorest and reconstructing the world with them. This is the most authentic revolutionary force which will render a more human world for all. This is the significance of adding a religious dimension to human life. The community of Sant'Egidio has never waged a fight against poverty. We have always promoted an alliance with the poor as a part of our family and of the great human family. It is a complete and passionate defense of the life of the most vulnerable and the voiceless, who are forgotten and set at the edges of our contemporary societies. But guaranteeing the human rights of the poor, the foreigners, the weak, the sick, and all minorities, human rights are assured to all. This is the idea that Pope Francis proposes today for Europe, inviting to open its doors to refugees and reiterating to European Parliament, he said, "It is time to build a Europe that revolves not around the economy, but around the sacredness of the human person." The lives of men and women, especially the lives of the weak, the poor, and the forgotten, have increasingly less value in the people's eyes. Their numbers increase in every society of the earth, and the lives of the poor are not valued. Indeed, what is the value of human life today? The claim to find the true dimension of the life separated from God has emptied human life of its value, making it an empty container filled at times in an absolutely random way with subjective and passing feelings. Is this the life of human being? Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger wrote, "The real opposition that characterizes the world today is not between the different religious cultures, but that between the radical emancipation of man from God, from the roots of life, on the one hand, and the great religious cultures of the others. If it comes to a clash of cultures, it will not be the clash of the great religions, but it will be the clash between this radical emancipation of man and the great historical cultures. Truly, humanity has lost its human dimension, as it has wanted to do without God. Our challenge today is, in some way, to seek God in order to find humanity again." Here is the point, and I go to the conclusion. This is why dialogue between religions becomes a sort of alliance at the service of humanity. Alliance at the service of humanity. This is what Pope Francis said on 20th March 2013 on the occasion of an interreligious gathering promoted by Community of Sant'Egidio. We can do a lot for the good of those who are poorest, those who are weak, and those who suffer, to favor justice, to promote reconciliation, to build peace. But above all, we must keep alive in the world the thirst for the absolute, not allowing a vision of the human person to a single dimension, according to which human beings are reduced to what they produce and consume. My dear friends, I believe religions have a great task today. I am convinced that they can play a specific and unique role. They can be schools of coexistence and peace in our society, promoting dialogue among men and women of all countries and all cultures. Yes, they can. And dialogue changes the hearts and minds of people. I'm also convinced that only by changing hearts and minds we can change the world. Even the most resistant political structures can be changed. The opposite is never true. Transformed structures cannot change the hearts, but transformed hearts change the structures. This is the great power of religion. The Community of Sant'Egidio, along with other Christian groups in Italy, has already started a self-financed project of sponsorship, which includes the opening of welcome desks in Morocco and Lebanon. In this first line of welcoming, files on refugees will prepare, as required by European regulations, to be presented to the embassy of European countries for the issuing of visas for humanitarian reasons. This is only an example of possible actions to make minorities no longer discriminated, but integrated as a new Europeans, also rejuvenating our societies. This entrance of immigrants in Europe is now proven not only represents a significant contribution to the growth of real European culture, but it is also a factor of considerable economic development for the various host countries. The world must change. The world can change. Think of the recent diplomatic relation between the United States and Cuba, or the nuclear agreement with Iran. They seemed impossible only a short time ago, but history is full of surprises. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, honestly, 3 days ago, in his speech to the Indonesian parliament, the largest Muslim society in the world, Andrea Riccardi, the founder of the Community of Sant'Egidio, said, "There is a need of a spiritual and human uprising to face the exploitation of religions in the name of conflict. Terrorism is blind. We need to face it. Its very religious rules must be delegitimate. The holy name of God must be removed from its lips. Its followers must be taken away by educating them to peace." Today our world needs a new commitment to build peace. This commitment must be the result of a wide collaboration between religions, cultures, politics, and economy together. No longer living in separate spheres, but working together through a constructive and open dialogue. Science and religion, wrote Pope Francis in its recent encyclical Laudato Si, praise be to God. Science and religion provide different approaches to reality, but they can enter a sustained and productive dialogue. To build society, starting with the poor, is to build societies livable for everyone. This is, in my opinion, and in my more than 48 years concrete experience, the correct relationship between religion, peace, and sustainable communities. Thank you so much.